Oh my goodness, it is Monday, and I'm going to skip this ad because we're all going to listen to the Funeral March, remixed by 2WEI. I think that's what it's called. I could be wrong. Yeah, but all I know is that there's Funeral March. Yay. I guess I didn't have to skip, so woohoo. Anyway, Monday, woohoo. We are on chapter 8, and I got the chapters mixed up last week. Yeah, because I'm blown on the inside, but I don't feel like advertising, so.
That's why I'm going to the store and getting the hair dye now.
So he says. Chapter 8 of Reaper Adventures: The Search. It's Monday. We're on chapter 8 once again, and just don't bring your kids, because this is really not kid-friendly. Yes, and it is 2WEI. I don't know what that means, but it's the Funeral March, and yeah, you're gonna go out there with no shoes. That's fantastic. Disclaimer, not kid-friendly. It's for mature audiences.
Caveman!
For mature audiences, I mean, there's no sex scenes or curse words unless I randomly blurt out a curse word, but that doesn't mean it's written down. There's a mention of self-harm. There's a scene of abuse, which we passed. The scene of the aftermath of slasher movie gore violence, which was just lots and lots of blood. There was a murder by a demon, and there was a murder by a serial killer. And later on, there is a scene of torture, so if you want to continue, do so at your own risk. We're on chapter 8, and let's get to it after I have some soda, because soda.
Your bunny friend's here.
Yes, I told you my bunny friend was there. It is chapter 8. Chapter 8 of Reaper Adventures: The Search, and I'll swear. Okay. The malicious entity was gone. It had left just as suddenly as it had arrived. So the sudden excuse me, I'm a little off my A game. I really am a little off my A game, so let's try this again. The malicious entity was gone. It had left just as suddenly as it had arrived. Though the townspeople were quietly relieved that they no longer felt the need to secretly glance over their shoulders, they were suspicious of its sudden disappearance. That's what I was trying to say, except it got all muddled. More than ever, Jeromeson's townspeople wanted answers. Answers that Serena, John, and the rest of the police officers didn't have. Answers that the police officers already quietly knew that they would never have. I do think this is a short chapter in advance. Yeah, maybe. We'll find out. Serena Lunar and her partner, John Alibi, had been told to go to Triniton's maximum security prison for the criminally insane by Chief Law. Yes, the police chief is Chief Law, because I just thought it was funny. Apparently, one of the individuals, or quite possibly the lone individual, who had answers to the extermination of the local coven of witches, the vanishing female survivor, and the one he had committed, with witnesses, killing one of the patients in Jeromeson Hospital psych ward. He had apparently squeezed someone's heart to a literal pulp without so much as batting an eye. They had made the appointment, read every rule and regulation, which included a dress code for Serena, and were now on the way, hoping to get the answers Jeromeson's townspeople were beginning to demand. Demise of a Nation by Conspiracy Theory music is coming on up. Playing. Jeromeson's townspeople were beginning to demand. John was driving this time. Serena had reluctantly relinquished the wheel and hoped John had seriously improved his driving skills, because we all know how some people are with driving. Some people really suck at it. I, for one, I don't know. I haven't driven in a while. He had, much to Serena's secret relief as she watched the people heading to wherever they were going. School was out now, and John was keeping a close eye on the teenagers. He knew that they thought they were invincible and immortal, and he wanted to make sure he wouldn't hit any one of them in case they decided to put that thought process to the test. Because teenagers, I mean, we all go through the teenage phase, we're like, I can't be hurt! But yeah, we really can be, so. As John made his way through traffic, he caught a glimpse of a 19-year-old he had never seen before. The teenager was male, with light brown hair that hung to the middle of his shoulders, pale skin, and eyes that John swore were silver in color. Silver eyes that had no whites to them or pupils, only the shadowed outline of where the iris would be, broken in appearance. "Pay attention!" Serena's exclamation snapped John to the road before him, and he slammed on the brakes as a few teenagers put the thought process of invincibility and immortality to the test. The teenagers, who John hadn't realized were there, continued on the way as if they hadn't been nearly hit. John took a breath and glanced at Serena, who raised an eyebrow questioningly. "Thank you." "I saw someone new," John explained when he glanced in the side mirror. He cleared his throat when he saw that the unknown teenager was watching them. His eyes, which John had sworn were silver, were ice blue and unconcerned that a few individuals around his age had nearly been killed. Yeah. John continued to drive, glad that Serena had glanced in the rearview mirror and had obviously spotted the same unknown teenager. "He's probably a new kid. More than likely going to start school soon," Serena reassured John. "Yeah, probably," John agreed. "What about him distracted you?" Serena questioned, curious despite herself. "It was probably the way the light hit, but I could have sworn he had silver eyes," John replied, embarrassed by his obvious mistake. "It's gotta be the allergies. I swear it's gotta be the allergies." Remix version of I Hate Everything About You by 3 Days Grace. "I'm being careful because I don't want to get into trouble." So, embarrassed by his obvious mistake. "Light plays weird tricks on people. Shadows do the same," Serena stated. John nodded, relieved he wasn't being ridiculed. Not that Serena had ever belittled or ridiculed what John could have sworn he had seen on rare occasions. Serena knew John was relieved that she had once again proven to him that she was trustworthy and would always be there for him. She was curious to know why John was the way he was sometimes, but she had never had the courage to ask him. She had always figured he would eventually tell her, whenever or if he was ever ready to tell her. Okay. They eventually arrived at Triniton's maximum security prison for the criminally insane. I say that with such a cheerful voice, I think there's something wrong with me. Shh, we all know that. They checked in after parking and turning the cruiser off. They were led to a small phone booth, and both were relieved to meet the still unknown man's lawyer. They introduced themselves to the lawyer and the man who still refused to say his name. "Now that we're introduced, shall we get straight to business?" Serena asked the unnamed man's lawyer. "I think that would be best," the lawyer replied, his voice brisk and emotionless. I'm trying to get that across, but I think I just sounded like a Cockney accent English person. Sorry. No offense. "Would you mind if we questioned your client?" Serena questioned, being polite. "That would be up to him," the lawyer answered. Serena turned her attention to the unnamed man and picked up the phone. The unnamed man sighed and raised an eyebrow in a perfect arch before picking up the phone next to him. "Hello, sir. My name is Detective Serena Lunar. My partner, Detective John Alibi, and I have a few questions to ask you," Serena told the man. He seemed to be patiently waiting for the questions that the detectives had for him. "Did you have any role in the previous crimes committed before the act of homicide you openly performed in Jeromson Hospital's ward for the mentally ill?" Serena asked. The man chuckled softly, and Serena barely managed to repress the shudder that crept down her spine. "Only the first crime spree. The second crime was bound to happen with or without my assistance," the man told Serena. He didn't seem to be fazed by the fact of the role he had admitted to playing him. "What was your role, then?" Serena pressed. The man studied Serena. "Someone had to make sure that the sacrifices would be dead no matter what," the man responded. "Sacrifices? Uh-oh. We all love those little sacrifices," the man responded. He was obviously still without remorse or empathy of the crimes committed. "Sacrifices?" Serena repeated with suspicion and concern. "A coven of actual witches, an individual like myself, and a normal non-magical, non-gifted human were required for a much more malicious, sadistic, and artistic individual. The man answered, "So you were around to make sure that everything that happened would bring this individual?" Serena deducted. "Correct," the man replied with indifference. "If this individual is malicious as well as sadistic, why did you also add artistic to the description?" Serena asked with curiosity and confusion. "Because they're an artist when it comes to torture." The man sighed, as if this was obvious. Serena felt another chill run down her spine and was unable to suppress the shiver that ensued. "Were you the mastermind behind the crimes that were committed?" Serena questioned, glad she was dark-skinned so her flush of annoyance wouldn't be noticed. "No," the man answered. "Who's the mastermind, then?" Serena pressed. The man opened his mouth. A name almost breathed into the phone, but it died in a confused and angry hiss. "No, that's a name I refuse to reveal. If I reveal it, your puny brain could never even begin to comprehend the trouble that would follow." The man spat, showing the first emotion since the conversation had. Natalie Bloom, Black Sea. I think. Yes, I believe. The man spat, showing the first emotion since the conversation had started. Serena read between the lines of his fury. He was nervous, confused by the fact he had almost revealed the name of the mastermind. Serena wondered if she should push him further, force him to reveal the mastermind's name. Serena opened her mouth to press the topic more, but the man's glare that concealed his slight fear to an almost unnoticed point made the words die on Serena's tongue. She closed her mouth and studied the unnamed man who was still glaring at her. She knew, to the untrained eye, his gaze was one of complete hate and fury. For Serena, who always made herself search for things many people missed, his fear was noted by her, but it was barely seen even to her self-trained eye. The man lowered his gaze to his long fingers, and he studied his somehow perfectly manicured nails. He was still hiding something, but Serena could no longer tell if it was fear, confusion, or nervousness. She knew better to ask him, though, and decided that they had received the only answers he was going to give them. He had answered the questions Serena had asked without any problems. Every time he had responded to her inquiries, Serena knew they were pushing what little luck they had. "Thank you for your time, sir. I believe that's all we needed," Serena told the man. He glanced up from his nails, lifted his upper lip with a soft snarl sounding in Serena's ear before hanging the phone up without any word. Serena knew the man had ceased his soft, very brief snarl as soon as he had ended the call. He had crossed his arms over his chest and was watching Serena with the fury everyone else saw. Rough drafts. Serena hung up her phone when she spotted the expertly hidden nervousness. Both her and John left Triniton's maximum security prison for the criminally insane. John had taken notes from the answers from the man that Serena had told him. "Hey, wow, I am really stumbling over my words today. I do apologize." She left no details out about the man's responses. She did leave out the expertly hidden fear and nervousness since John hadn't seen them, and she knew that deep down, if she told anyone about the fear and nervousness, both her and John would meet their maker sooner than anticipated. Serena had no desire to let that happen. Serena took over driving, because, the almost accident isn't a very good idea for people to drive in. Anyway, Serena took over driving, and they returned to the Jeromson police station. John and Serena reviewed the answers that were now provided and the cases of the previously unsolved cases. They could now officially say that the crimes, while still unsolved because of not knowing the mastermind behind them, they were still technically solved because they had one of the major players behind bars. I did say this was a short chapter, but it's actually kind of longer than I thought, and we're almost done. We have about a little bit, maybe 3 more sentences, so yay. Even if he wasn't in their custody, he was still out of the picture of the crimes that had been committed. It was only a matter of time before they officially solved the crimes and put the mastermind away for good. Or so they think. Dun dun dun. Anyway, as I said, that was short, but longer than some of them that have been stated. And I do apologize for maybe the slight tremor. My hand is a little shaky. I think it's just because, anyway.
a blonde.
We're gonna go with the fact that I have some accounts and try to ignore the fact that I truly am a blonde on the inside. Because I'm seriously not promoting that to the world, even though I just did. Damn it. Damn it!
Funny shit.
Screw off and take Kristoff with you. Anyway, my accounts. Hey, that was actually good. I am containing my potty mouth pretty damn good. My accounts, I have a Wattpad account. A Wattpad account, which is at Tempesta771. A TikTok account, which is at AirdrainCraven2. No uppercases, no spaces, under the name Tempesta Braveheart. A Instagram account, which is Tempesta Braveheart, no spaces, no uppercases, under the name AirdrainCraven, and since we all know I have Facebook, I don't know if I want to do this. This is grandson called Overdose. I said, I am trying to be careful. I have a Snapchat, blah, 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 wow, there is something wrong with the words in my mouth today. Continuing. I have a Snapchat account under the name AirdrainCraven, no uppercases, no spaces, and we are blonde watching or making, and maybe we have blonde people watching, and no offense to that, but I am a serious blonde on the inside stumbling over words today. Sorry about any offense. I have a YouTube account which we are all watching. Wow. We're just gonna cut it off on that. Yeah, no, we're not. I have my YouTube, which we're watching, under the name Tempesta Braveheart. I still don't feel like explaining. Just know that my words are really muddled today, and I don't know why. Anyway.
Blondes are us.
Peace out, Girl Scouts, and enjoy the mental hilarity.